Good morning, folks. This Dragon from Dragon Speaks to You. You can add gmail.com. That's a Gmail. Hashtag on Instagram, Dragon Speaks for You. And on YouTube, it's at Dragon Speaks for You. See my videos there if you'd like. Also, that's with a number 4 and the letter U. Dragon Speaks for You. I'd like to address something today. Uh, spiritual drainage. And I know that a lot of folks don't believe in that, but I want to give you the information anyway. Many of you do. Many of you know about it. A lot of you get caught up in it. You can get caught up in this very easily. Okay, I started many years ago when I was young. Okay, and I handled it in a transmutal type of way. But I always knew I always knew there was something more to it than just doing drugs and getting high. Okay, and I know a lot of you may be on some kind of illicit drugs. There was a time I was into everything myself. For many years, and but you might not be aware of a drainage that happens in the spirit, and it's that's where your crash comes from. Uh, Especially like let's say meth, okay, methamphetamine. Uh, Many of you don't know. You just go and get high, and you don't realize that that drug opens up a spiritual door. It opens up a spiritual door that you can't handle. You know, you have to be aware from the beginning, and it takes you to a place. Besides the high, you know, uh, you might feel good for a while, but after a while, it gets away from you. You know what I mean? So you get on a roll. You get on a roll, and you go and you go and you go, and it depletes your energy. Okay, every day, as long as you keep going, it keeps depleting your energy, and you keep dropping and dropping, and it takes you to a point where it gets dark. And I mean, you see these people out there talking on street corners and talking to themselves and yelling at things, and you know that aren't there, but they are in the spirit. Okay, peeking out the windows, and these dark shadows, and they call them shadow people. Well, it's there, but it's spiritual. You know what I mean? And it looks like they're going crazy, but they're really not. I mean, it's actually there. They just don't know how to handle it. Okay, you have to understand. Some of you are out there in the middle of that now. It's I've been off of it for many years, but I went through it for many years, and it's not necessarily having to be on drugs. It's still there. It's always there. Like today, there's attacks being happening, and it's a spiritual warfare. And there's a group of people out there, and they've got status. They're high people, which are using other people. They induct other people to harm people, to hurt people, take their finances, take their homes, take just actually rape them in their life, rape their life. It's a rape. It's a rape of uh, spirit. It's a rape of spirit. It's a rape mentality, mental issues, uh, causing mental issues, and take all their belongings, money, financial. It's always behind the Benjamins in one form or another. So but there are people out there doing this, and it's groups of people. Okay, like I say, there's a lot in high places. I mean, there's some in law enforcement, there's some in government, there's some in you break it down all the way down, and you know sometimes they're part of your family, and it's hard to uh, accept that, but it's true. And because of finances, you understand, they're offered money to go against you. You understand me? But leaving aside the drug thing, I mean, that it makes you weak, and they can take it. That's why people lose their lives, lose everything they got, quick, quick too. Uh, it happens real fast. Pretty soon, I knew one person that was he was a deputy in the sheriff's department, and good man. He was a good man, had a business and everything, and I even worked for him for a while. But and I couldn't understand, there was something I could read it in him, and I just kept watching and watching. Well, he got into the meth, to stay awake and do his shift, late nights, shit, stuff like that, late night shift, and it happened so fast. Within a year, this man was totally. I couldn't recognize him. It was uh, it was a shame because really good man, really good heart, and he lost his marriage, lost his family, beautiful kids, his house, his business, uh, and he came to me for help one day, and I tried to help him, but I can't move in. You know what I mean? In order to actually be able to uh, be effective, truly effective, you got to have a constant connection with a person when they're on that. To watch them, because it's got too much pull, and it can take you back. It take you back as much as you want out. It can take you back. So anyway, he went down. He went down bad, and you couldn't recognize him. Lost his job. Lost everything within a year. Uh, I knew another person. He became a millionaire, a young guy. In a year, he started a business, and I worked with the guy in different facets. But a young guy. He was a good young man. He became a millionaire in a year uh, because of his business, and he got behind meth, amphetamine, and pretty soon he included his business in it, as a front, and one day it just came all down, and it crushed him. He lost all of that. Millionaire, this young man. I couldn't believe it. It happened so fast. It was unbelievable. And I've known quite a few. Uh, and he lost everything immediately. I mean, business, uh, wife and family and house, everything, cars, everything. He lost everything. It seemed like a snap. It seemed like that quick, because of the way he did it. But it took him down. It took him down to a point where it weakens you so far. And I'm saying this for a reason, because I'm going to get into something here in a minute. Uh, it weakened him down to such a point that all demonic forces could touch him. You understand? All the dark side, whatever you want to call it, the devil, whatever you want to call it. It is real, people. If you don't think it is, a lot of you know it is. A lot of you play with it. You understand? And I understand that. I did too for quite a while. I never went in to participate in it, because I never signed off on it. You understand? That was a little different. So I studied it. I looked at it and studied it. I wanted to know. So I was in it for quite a while and around it. The witches, the warlocks, the uh, uh, medicine men and medicine women, and all of that stuff. It's pretty scary if you don't know about it. But once you get it, it's nothing. It's Once you get to a certain point, you understand, and like the Lord says, in His Word, He says, understand your enemy. You know what I mean? Uh, the best warrior is one who knows his enemy. So I always thought that way. So I wanted to know. I wanted to know. And yeah, I made some mistakes. I made some mistakes in there, and but I tell you what, you learn. You know what I mean? And if you don't learn, you're a fool. You have to learn from those. So I admit it. I made some mistakes, but for the most part, I handled it pretty good because I started understanding it, and they couldn't touch me. You know what I mean? They couldn't touch me. They wanted to keep me, and they wanted to own me in that realm. But you got to kind of play dumb, and play along. You know what I mean? Well, I did anyway. So, and then play along to where you can stay there without being noticed, in a sense. So once you learn that stuff, then you can walk on your own. Because I was always independent, and I wanted to do my own thing. Whether it was, what do you call, right or wrong or whatever, positive or negative. I wanted to do my own thing regardless. So I've always been independent for myself. Um, but it helped me a lot to understand that, and the spiritual end of it. You understand? And I could see it. I could see it, and I had to know where it was coming from, how it was coming, how it worked, what it did to people. So I studied people, and myself also, and how I thought and what I saw, and how my thought patterns were. All of that. I got very. I've always been pretty analytical, so I analyzed all of that. You know what I mean? And it takes a long time, and luckily I survived it. There was many times it was, I faced some pretty dark situations, and the possibility of not surviving it. You know what I mean? But I've always walked the edge, and I didn't have the fear about it. It's just I walked in, and I walked in as myself, and this is who I'm going to be, and this is what I am, and whatever comes at me, I'm going to take it. So you can't have fear of it. You can't have fear. You got to walk in and project strength, project courage, and project confidence, and it'll try to attach to you because it wants that power. You understand? It wants that power, and you just got to be careful because everything that comes at you, you got to watch what you sign off on. And I'm talking sign off physically, mentally, spiritually. Okay, so you got to watch that, and a lot of you guys out there, a lot of you folks out there are on it, and it affects men. And we're talking meth, amphetamines. It affects men different than it does women. Okay, and I don't know if a lot of you don't realize that, and that's why you're caught up in things. You can't hold a relationship, and the one you do, it's very toxic. It's a very toxic relationship. It's in and out, up and down. It's never solid. Uh, yeah, unless it's misery loves company type thing, man. I mean, unless you're right along with it, so one of you will become a yes man to the other. You know what I mean? Then you can hold that relationship because you're both in the same boat, but the boat is sinking. You understand? So you got to know when to abandon ship, and it's you got to stay aware. But a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of people they're too busy getting high and enjoying the high. They don't realize there's a spiritual door open, and it's affecting you and it's draining you. Okay, well, to get away from that and to get into the same thing, but without the drug, you're out here sober, a sober person, or maybe you drink, sociably. Even then, okay, even then, it's alcohol is a drug. It's a mind altering drug. It changes you regardless of what you think. It changes you, and the more you drink, the more it changes you. And there's people that deny it and deny it and deny it. You become alcoholics. And no, I'm not an alcoholic. I have no problem drinking. I drink perfectly well. Start joking about it. But it's also a drug, and it's mind altering. Just because it's legal don't mean it's okay. It's you overindulge in it, and it takes you down. Starts affecting your looks. You know, it's the ages you quick. You start aging quickly, and you've got to regulate, and you've got to know about this, and the spiritual comes into play because it's draining you. Okay, people you meet, people you meet, there's a drainage. Okay, and you don't have to be all buzzed up and high and all this other stuff. You you can be perfectly sober, or you can just have a drink or two or whatever. But people you meet, you got to be careful with. Till you reach a certain level, you can't escalate. You understand? It keeps you from escalating in your frequencies. And I keep saying this about frequencies and vibrations. And I know a lot of you going, "Oh no, here we go again." Yeah, here we go again. Because either you want to learn about it or you don't want to learn about it. Okay, that's all there is to it. And if you don't, change the channel. Don't even watch. You know what I mean? But I can help you get a lot of this or understand it. You all have the power. You all have the power to deliver yourselves from this. You know, and if not total deliverance, at least you've got the power. You'll know how to regulate and control it. You understand? So you can control to a certain point. And so you got to watch when you hug somebody, when you kind of read them before that. But you have to get to a level that you can read. Uh, Shake somebody's hand. It, you can get to a point where you can tell that you wouldn't believe how much you get, from that if you pay attention. A lot of people aren't open to it. It's just, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Oh, give me a hug. But I mean, a lot of people just go for it, and they're just open to everything, and there's a transfer. It could be a dark entity in this person, and it's not the person. Okay, it's the entity in them, and there's a lot out there that they're hosts. They're hosts of these demonic entities, and they can jump into you. You take them home, and things start acting weird. Things start negative things start happening in your life, or you're walking around with confusion. You don't understand. It starts affecting your job. You can't. Something's confusing you, or you get a mental block, and you can't do your job. Your performance drops down, or just different things. It's but if you keep your eyes open on this uh, demonic power, this dark side that's always attacking. It's always attacking you. It wants to weaken you every day of your life, from the time you wake up, even in your dreams. Even in your sleep, it's attacking you. So even in your dreams, you got to be awake. If that makes any sense, even in your dreams. So, excuse me, you've got to be awake, spiritually awake, so that you naturally, if you stay spiritually awake, folks, I'm telling you, you don't have to sit and look and do all this work. Your spirit does it for you, okay? But you need to listen. You need to listen, and it's if you notice, I point to my head, not my ears, okay? Because you need to listen. It'll come to you, and your thoughts. Quit questioning. You know what I mean? Every time I second guess myself in my thoughts, every time I second guess myself, I'm wrong. Probably 9 times out of 10. And I learned that, and it's like that's your spirit telling you. Your spirit telling you don't don't go there, or don't go there tonight, or don't go that direction, or whatever. And some of you have always said, you make a move, something happens, and oh man, something told me I shouldn't have went that way. Something told me I shouldn't have done that. And something told me I shouldn't have done it this way. But you didn't listen. You know what I mean? You heard it, but you didn't listen, or you listened, but you didn't hear it. Okay. So it's, you have to go in and surrender. Okay. You have to surrender your carnal thought. You understand? Into the spirit, so that your spirit makes that decision. But you got to listen, and once you do, you'll feel it, and it's, you call it intuition. Your intuition strengthens. It gets bigger. It gets stronger, and pretty soon you're seeing things. You're knowing things. I mean, you raise levels every time you do that. You raise levels in frequency. Your vibrations get evened out. You understand? And if there's any disturbance, you heard this thing like on Star Wars. I feel a disturbance in the force. That's what it's about. Exactly what it is. And you can have you get your vibrations. Your vibrations will be at an even keel, and then something. If you ever seen a, a graph like a line chart, you'll see these kicks, like that are, these peaks and stuff like that. Um, like in stocks, if you watch stocks and stuff, you see a raise, and you see a drop, and all this stuff like that. That's exactly how it is. But you have it internally, and you feel it, you see it, and you feel that that rise or that fall, and it'll tell you, this is positive, this is negative, this is a good move or not move. You know what I mean? Uh, and it don't give you results, but if you listen, it's leading you. Your spirit's not going to lead you to. It's a spirit giving you. It's a spirit of sound mind and power and no fear. You understand? Those three things. That's your spirit, and it's not going to lead you. It's always for the good. It's never for the bad for you. It's never for the negative for your life. But you have to listen and act accordingly, because your mind is going to go against it. Your mind is going to your mind and your body, your carnal thought is going to want different. Well, no, I can go ahead and do it. I can handle it. Well, you do, and then you end up, it might turn out good at first, but it gets bad. It'll because it's weakening you. And once you get to a certain point of weakness in your frequencies, it attacks you. It turns up on it turns the dial, and it turns it up on you. So pretty soon you're caught up in something that, we used to call it the trick bag. Then you're left with the trick bag, holding the trick bag, and that entity disappears, leaves you. You know what I mean? Pretty soon you got no help. It was, it promises all this help, but whatever, but money or whatever it may be, you understand? These promises are made to you, and it starts off real good at first, but after a while, once you're caught in that trick bag, that's it, and that entity leaves you. There's no more help. It leaves you holding the trick bag. So then you pay, and a lot of you are caught up in that right now, and a lot of you it's called karma. Karma's attacking you, and you cannot run from it. You can't. Anywhere you go, there you are. You can't run from it. It's coming. It's going to get you, or it's already there, and it's going to turn it up. And the more you fight it, and you don't go back to where you're supposed to be, you keep trying your malicious intent, trying to work yourself out of it, or talk yourself out of something you worked yourself into, or anything like that, with lies. You know what I mean? And facades. It's coming from nefarious reasons and malice, and you can't do that. It's going to get worse and worse on you, and it'll take people down. It's taking people down and put them in mental institutes. There's a lot of people that, I'm telling you, is suffering with heavy mental problems, because that's where it works. And it'll work at night while you're sleeping. It'll work at night while you're trying to sleep. A lot of you can't sleep, right now. You can't sleep, and you don't know. You sleep for 15 minutes, you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Your mind is just in this whirlwind of these thoughts, whatever it may be, relationships, or what you did over here, or what you did over there. It's all negative. It's all negative. And it keeps you in this whirlwind, and you can't stand it. And you got this other part of you that that's a logical part of you, and it's trying to reason with it, and there's no reasoning with it because it's illogical. It's illogical. It's irrational, and you can't deal with yourself. Pretty soon, you don't know what the hell you are. You're 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 totally illogical. Nothing makes sense, and you're totally rational. So you got the logical end, and you got the irrational side. Battling. You understand within you. So it goes deep enough, and that dark side will turn that. That karma's going to keep coming, and that's not the dark side. That's because of where you were in the dark side, or what caused it. You understand? That karma just comes around. It's a circle. I used to. You guys probably seen an image of a snake, biting its own tail. It makes a complete circle, and it's biting its own tail. Well, that's what it is. What goes around comes around. And it's the same. It's the same snake. You understand? It's the same snake. And if you study this stuff and within yourself, and what your place is in this wheel, for lack of a better word, what I mean, in this it's a rotation, and if you study your part, your position in this, where you have placed yourself, nobody put you there, you did. Okay, you can regulate it and step out of it. Some step out quick, some take time, but you have to be willing to lose the fear and jump in there and do it. And like I've said before multiple times, quit listening to people, man. Quit listening to people. They don't know. I'm gonna put it this way: they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Okay, they're in the same freaking boat you're in. And unless there's somebody who's gone through it, there's a lot of us like me that's gone through it. We've come out, we've fought it hard, we've done the work, and it takes a lot of work to elevate yourself to a point where you can actually help other people and teach them. You know what I mean? But and you won't go back. There's no going back. Once you make this decision, you can't go back. And you run into people that come up and you'll hit that same. It's very few, and this is it's a lonely place, but you have this mission. You know what I mean? And you start pulling people out of the darkness. But for yourself, you can pull yourself out of it. You understand me? But you have to study it. You have to study yourself. You have to analyze. You have to analyze yourself till it drives you bananas. I mean, at some point, you get so tired of looking at yourself, and I understand it. I went through it, people. And I got so tired of looking at myself. It's just like, man, I don't care. I don't care. I give up. I don't care. And you'll get there, and I understand that. But when you settle back down, you go, man, I got to get out of this. You know what I mean? And you keep fighting, and you keep fighting, and you keep fighting, and that's what it takes. So don't feel bad because oh no, I quit, man. That's it. I've had it. I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Okay. What are you going to give up on yourself for? For what? You know what I mean? Because you're dealing with the stupid relationship or something you got yourself into. You made a dumbass move. Or you lost a good one because your eyes went someplace else, and people make mistakes. You understand? People make mistakes, but how you feed that makes the difference whether it's a mistake or premeditated. You understand? A mistake happens. You understand? Premeditated, that's a whole different story. And then if you keep feeding it, what are you doing? You call that a mistake and you're still calling it a mistake? Please give me a break. It's not a mistake at that point. You understand? You're making definite decisions. You're making definite decisions on to do these things and continue and try to work yourself out of it. And what you're doing is you're digging and digging and digging a bigger and bigger hole, and you just keep, pretty soon there's a hole you can't get out of. And either way, Karma's right with you. Karma's right with you. You don't think so, but why isn't it working out? Why everything you're trying isn't working? Why? You know, because you're making mistakes? No, no, because you're making a stupid decision. You know, you're making a stupid decision to to revisit and feed the bullshit. Okay, and you're making that decision. It's a premeditated thing. So something pops in your head. Oh, I got a plan. You know, that plan don't work. Okay, I got to sit down and make another plan. Meanwhile, you're being attacked, and you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. But you think you've got it solved. You know, and it's just not. It's just not so. You know, you cannot fight that spiritual battle without spiritual power. You understand? Pretty soon you have none. And you're looking for somebody to help you. You know what I mean? They're dealing with their own stuff. And there's probably some that are right next to you, you know? And they're in the same boat. How's that gonna help? You understand? It's just it's a ridiculous thing. And a lot of people get caught in that. You know, you get caught up in that. So what you got to do is make that decision, and lose the fear of everything. What is the fear? You know, what fears do you have? List your fears for yourself. Get away from people. Get away from everybody and list your fears. What the hell am I afraid of? Let me see. You know, okay, I'm afraid of what people are going to think. I'm afraid of this move here. I won't start off with the left foot. I want to start off with the right foot. I'm not sure if that's right or not. You know, I'm scared of this. You know what I mean? I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. I'm scared if I go and apologize to the people, you know, I'm going to get rejected, or you know, I can't. And so I have a fear of rejection. There you go, fear of rejection. Why do you think that is? You know, all these things you have to look at and face them. That way you can fix them. And some are just so damn stubborn that you all know, no, because of that freaking ego. That ego's this big, and it's going to destroy your reputation. Your reputation is wasted already. You think people don't see it? Your reputation is wasted already. Where are all your friends? All these friends are supposed to, you know, supposed to be around. You know what I mean? You call in all this stuff, and it's not so. You're living a fantasy. You know what I mean? You're living a fantasy. And it's just, well, no, I've got the answer. And you know, you try something, it goes that premeditation again. That's not a mistake. You're making a definite negative decision. You see, and here you go. Dig a little deeper. Let's dig a little deeper. You know, I know it's here. I know the answer's here. I'll just keep digging. You know, and you're stuck in this thing. Pretty soon, it's affecting you mentally. It starts affecting you physically. You start losing weight, or you start gaining weight. You start overeating, or you stop eating. You can't sleep. It starts showing on your face. You know, a lot of you ladies are starting to use these, you know, all these whatever cover-ups you can put. Pretty soon, you got an inch thick of Bondo on your face, so you don't look tore up. You know. Well, you're ate up and tore up. You know, take that makeup off your face and look yourself in a light. You know what? Take it. If you got a fluorescent light, you have a fluorescent light. Put it on and look in the mirror. Put it facing you and look in the mirror, and look deep without all that makeup stuff, and look at yourself. It's going to show. It's going to show. Okay, it's going to show. You'll see it. You'll see stuff you don't want to see. And then you're going to try to get some more Bondo, like in, you know, body work and vehicles, you know, put the Bondo on, you know, and make up this face. It doesn't matter how much you put on. You are what you are. Underneath, it doesn't cover. So you gotta build you a mask. Okay? Men, same thing with men. You know what I mean? Men take it a different way though. You know what I mean? It's vanity. It's all about vanity. You hear what I'm saying? And you don't want to be vain. Well, why you keep having to look in the mirror? You know what I mean? Why you keep looking in the freaking mirror? You know, I look in the mirror one time a day. You know what I mean? I go and I shave and I do my hair, and that's it, man. I don't think of the mirror. Every time I pass a mirror, sure, you check yourself every now and then to make sure everything's right. But you know, uh, to there's a point that it goes beyond, and then it becomes vanity. You're vain, man. You become vain. And that right there is a negative. It's a negative reaction to something that's taken it's taken your attention away from what you should be paying attention to. You know what I mean? Uh, you don't have to look at that. Feed your spirit. Feed your spirit. Quit feeding this carnal, man. You're gonna, you know, you're aging. The youngsters don't know this. Youngsters don't can't see past their nose. You understand? They think they know everything. And there's no thought of death. There's no thought of death in most youngsters. They can't see, past that tree right there in front of them. You know what I mean? But you older folks, and you get up in certain age, you can see, you stop thinking about those things, and you start looking forward, but there's a lot that are blinded and don't see nothing. They just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. Pretty soon it's out of control. You understand? So feed the spirit, feed your spirit, people, and lose the fear of all of that stuff. Like I said, that list you have of your fears. Take the time to do it. If you really want out of that situation, and your life will be good. I mean, if you want riches, you want this, you want that, you want a nice place to live or whatever it is, it'll come to you. But you have to have patience. You know what I mean? And be satisfied with what you have. It's for many many years. I mean, I've never been without money. Never. It's I've gotten low, but I've never been without money, and I've never been without actually what I need, unless I made a stupid mistake and lost everything, which I have. But I always get up, and I refuse to lay down. I refuse to lay down. It's just not. I'm not going to stay down. You know what I mean? Everybody gets knocked down. What's that song? I get knocked down, but I get up. I get knocked down, but I get up again, and it's constant. It's a constant thing, but you can't, always come back bigger and better. But I've learned to be, content, not because I can't get more. It's because I really don't. I've already been there. I've already been there. I was at a point where I don't know. I spent $1 million, before I knew it. You know what I mean? And if I would have saved all that, I'd have a stack of money. For what? For what? What are you gonna? What are you gonna do with it if you're not doing anything with it, right? So I've been there, but I was on a roll, man. I was playing a fast lane, and you have to leave everything else behind. Pretty soon it took over me, and it's just you lose everything after a while because if you're single and you're not working for anything else, any kind of attachments, it works a little different for you. You know what I mean? But then you worry about what kind of relationship. When you finally you got this stack of money and you finally come to a relationship, right? Uh, you want a relationship or something like that, and then you got to wonder, are they here for the money, or are they here for that? A lot of gold diggers out there, they're just there for the money. They just want, and they drain from you, they suck from you, and that's that spiritual transfer I'm talking about. They drain from you, they become a succubus. Pretty soon they're just taken from you, taken from you, taken from you. And that don't mean that you didn't have a love. That don't mean there wasn't something there. It's just they dropped the ball. You know what I mean? You can't control all that. You can't fix everything. And it's hard to accept that sometimes. Because it hurts. You know what I mean? And you want to fix it. Men want to do that. Men want, we can fix this. We can fix this. And it's tough to do sometimes, and sometimes you just can't. It's not meant for you to fix people's problems. They've got to fix them themselves, as much as you want to. And some you can, you can help, but you can't do it yourself, right? And the only one you can control is you. So when you get in this spiritual, uh, this spiritual aspect of it, let that spirit guide you into things, and but you have to listen because it's all for the good. You have to know that it's all for the good. You have to know it and believe in it and stand with it. And if you do that, you'll see it starts coming, feeding you. And every time you realize it and accept it and grow with it, your affirmation, your own affirmation of it raises you in levels of frequency. You understand? And your vibrations, like I say, your vibrations will be wherever you put them. You can control, it'll be a flow. You understand? It won't be this flat line. It'll be a nice roll of vibrations, and you can get those. You know what I mean? It'll be a nice roll, you know. Instead of jagged peaks and drops, you know what I mean? Uh, it's I mean, that's the only way I can explain it to you, but you have to let the spirit guide you, your spirit. And you have to, I know it's tough for you guys to believe, some of you folks to believe, because you can't touch it. I don't know if that's even real. I can't touch, I don't see it touch. Well, you're not giving it anything. You understand? What do you got to lose? Right? You're not giving it any attention, right? You're feeding the wrong dog, right? You're feeding the wrong dog. They're both fighting for you, and you're feeding the wrong one. This one's starving to death, and that's the one that could actually help you. And this one, oh yeah, he's big and beautiful and badass, but it's nothing, because this right here, you feed this, and it'll overcome all that in a heartbeat. And you have to believe in it, and you have to give it attention. So just watch your spiritual transfers, with people, and the drainage, because you feel it, and that's why I use the drug thing at the beginning, because at the end at some time you have to stop and rejuvenate a little bit, because it'll wear you out. So that's called a crash, and that crash is when your drainage, you feel all your drainage. If you wake up to it, you're being drained, man. If not, you wouldn't have to crash like that. You stay up, you stay up. But it's the same thing. That's why I use that reference, okay? Because you can feel this. You can feel this drainage. If you go out at night, let's say, and you meet a lot of people and this and that, you might not go out and get wasted, totally drunk and everything else, but you go out and have a couple of drinks or whatever, but you meet a lot of people, and you don't pay attention to that spiritual transfer. There's a lot of darkness out there, people, that people aren't aware of, and they seem like good people, but they're not aware of that dark entity that they're carrying. You understand? They don't show that out in front. They'll show it. It affects it when they get home. They're a whole different person. You know what I mean? They're different people. But out in public, well, it's a real beautiful scene. You know what I mean? You have to have that discernment and be able to read that. And you can only give so much of you, because every time you do, you're giving away some energy. You understand? And when people see that you are a person of some power, or they see your power, they can read it. That dark side can read it, and they want it. And if they can set you off in any way whatsoever on reactions, negative reactions, that's what they feed off of. You understand? That really feeds them. They want that power, because that's draining you of that solitude and that calmness, and that you get to that point. Well, you don't know it till you get home, man. All of a sudden it's like, oh man, that was a rough night, but you didn't really do anything. So why is it such so rough? That's that drainage. That's that spiritual drainage. You understand? And at work, and you got to go to work the next day, and you can't, you have trouble thinking and all this other stuff, and you blame it on a couple of drinks you had. No, that's not what it is. It drained your energy. You had a good level going, and it drained your energy. You understand? But if you stay aware of this, you can do that and go have a few drinks, go have a good time, and some whatever. You know what I mean? Or go out and do whatever you're going to go do, because that can happen in any aspect of life. I mean, not just going out like that. It's whatever you go do, you're going to meet people everywhere. So it can happen anywhere, in any scenario. So just something for you maybe to think about, and it's you gotta always stand in a secure place. No, as a matter of fact, see, security. You know what I mean? I used to run security in many clubs and stuff like that, but you know, I was a cooler in a lot of different jobs, different clubs and stuff like that. But uh, it's funny. I wear that. I just snap to that. You got to stand with security. But when people see that, if you're a man and women see that in you, you know, you don't have to be wearing a shirt that says it. They see it. Women see it. That's what they're looking for, and they see that, and they'll come to you. And it's you just gotta be careful because they're smiling and they might be good looking and all that stuff, but you gotta watch that entity that's in them. You understand? Because it's leading them. It's not the person themselves. You have to understand that it's not the person themselves. So you can't really the person themselves. You can only blame so much. They only have so much fault in it. You understand? And it's tough because if they burn you, I mean, you hate goes towards this person, and it's because it's an immediate emotion. You have to sit back and think about it and say, well, I know they made the decision, they were wrong, but uh, you know, you can't put all the fault on them because they don't realize there's an entity in them that's leading them into this. You know what I mean? Because there might be a better person than that. So it's a hard decision, folks, and I understand that because some people get hurt real bad. I mean, I've been there, done that. So uh, you have to kind of give it so much to either side. Either side's got to take blame. You know what I mean? And then there's blame. Some blame is on you because you have to realize that. Okay, and that's just being honest and being aware. And some blame's on you because you might have gave more than you should have gave, and you seemed easy. You know what I mean? So no big fault on you, like you're a bad person because you were a good person. But you see what I'm saying? It's kind of a contradiction, but you know you got to understand that that's a part of it that fed it. Okay, and if you understand it in the spirit, it's easier moving forward. Okay, it's easier moving forward, and a lot of people are stubborn and they just egos lead the way, and it's they become narcissistic. So I mean, you can only do what you can do. Okay, but you can control yourself and you can make your life a lot easier in looking forward and moving forward, um, by what I'm telling you. And I could probably get into it more. I don't want to take too much time on it, but it's uh, it gets a little bit deeper than that. But I wanted to touch on it. I had a thought to do that this morning, and I really didn't want to make a video this morning, but the spirit keeps feeding me things that it's. I'm telling you, the spirit itself is. If you're going to listen, the spirit itself is stubborn itself. I'm telling you, and I argue with it all the time. I do. It's no, I don't want to. It's you got to do it. You got to do it. You have to do it. Look. and it keeps giving you, giving you, giving you. It won't leave you alone. So finally, it's like, okay, all right, you know, because so it must be important for somebody. Do you understand? And that's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel and I see it. So, well, it must be important for somebody. Must need this today, even if it's just one person. Even if it's just one person that gets a hold of this, it makes my day, you know, and it makes the spirit happy because somebody needed it. You know, I've done many of that, much of that in my life, and I, I didn't even know why I was having to do this, you know. But if I'm going to obey, I'm going to obey. You're right. So I made the commitment. Okay, I'll do it, and I don't have to know why or what or how. You know, I just do it because I'll see it later. Oh yeah, okay, I see. All right, you know, and then I see why you wanted that. You know, and it's to help a certain person, and you were sent to do it. And it's awesome to be that kind of servant. You know, because you know, and you look at it like, well, you know, they think, you know, when you help them out of something like that, there's a lot of people that, you know, have called me this and that and say, oh my God, you know, you're an angel or this or that and help me out, you know. And, but they feel that, you know, well, God must have sent you or something like that or whatever. And that may be so, but I don't know. I don't claim that, you know, I don't claim, I understand that the Spirit has sent me. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I don't take it to feed my ego. You know, I don't need that. I don't need that. I'm pretty confident in who I am. But I mean, people get lost in that. You know, you get this Jesus complex. You know what I mean? It's I've met a lot like that. You know, and you know, some have told me straight up, "Oh no, I'm so anointed." You know, and it's not for you to claim that. You know what I mean? It's not for you to claim that. You know, it's good for you to feel it. I mean, if you feel you have been, you know, spiritually anointed, that's good that you recognize it. But, you know, don't let it feed your ego, man. You know, I don't go there. Fact is a fact. That's it. You know, the fact is a fact. Either I have those powers and been given those powers or I don't. It's not like I'm better than anybody, you know. I'm better. I always say I'm not better than you. I'm better at it. Okay, that's all. Because if you say I'm better at it, that presents a challenge. But you can get there too. You know what I mean? But never I'm better than you. I don't. I've never felt that. As a matter of fact, I sit back and I'd rather have you carry the title. You carry the title. I don't need the title. I'll watch over you. You know. I'll back you. You know. I'll keep the flies off you. You know what I'm saying? But I don't need the title. You know, I'm a pool shooter. I shot pool since I was 11 years old. I got to where I shot pool in the circuit, you know, and pool circuit in Vegas and everywhere, you know, all over the country. And I got had a pretty good pool game. I haven't shot for a while, but you know, I got a one shot, two shot average. I mean, it's you know, if you miss, it's over. You know what I mean? But I'm confident in that, and I'm cocky with it because it's the game. You understand? I've got game. You know, it's not my ego. You understand? It's just a fact. And if you can change it, you're more than willing to, or challenge it. You're more than willing to do so. You see what I mean? Then that's how I look at this. You know, I've got the skill. If you can challenge it and you can prove to me, you know, you can beat me on a consistency basis, then you're better at it than I am. Okay, and I'm willing to eat it. I haven't seen much of it, but uh, you know, I have met some pretty good ones. You know what I mean? But they've met me too. You know what I mean? And you know, it's one guy told me one night, you know, we were going to shoot, and he challenged me to shoot, and I was okay. I'll play a game, you know. Well, I just want to tell you, he says that I play with the masters, you know. So I just looked at him real calm, and you know, chalking up my stick, and I said, well, I believe you because you're playing with one right now. So, and that was cocky. You know what I'm saying? But he, he called it on. He threw it first. I play with a master. So what are you saying? You know what I mean? What are you trying to tell me? But to be sarcastic, you know, I threw it back at him. Well, I believe you. I believe. Oh yeah, no, I believe you. Because you're playing with one right now. And by the end of the games, by the end of the night, he threw his stick down and he's stomping on it, and it was funny as hell to watch. But you know, so he understood. But there's no shame in being beaten by the master. And sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. But I don't take it as an ego, but I do back my game. You see what I'm saying? Same with these powers. If you get these powers, you get to a level where I've worked hard at it. I've worked hard. Nobody handed this stuff to me. Nobody handed it to me. I've worked hard for it. I've worked hard for it. I've developed it, and there's people that are jealous of it and they hate me for it. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You get off your ass. You know what I mean? Do some work. You're lazy. Quit being lazy. And if you want it, reach out and get it. You're not going to take it from me. You know what I mean? You're not going to take it from me. I don't get it. I don't get what the deal is. So you want to catch me in a trap, keep me in a cage, and say you have it so you can use it. I don't understand the thought. So anyway, you will be attacked too, and there's some of you out there being attacked the same way. So because of what you have, and it's actually a compliment. So if you look at it that way, you can go, okay, well, it's thanks for the compliment, but you got to watch it, because you can be drained. You understand? And if you let it get to you, uh, your reactions feed it, and it drains you, right? And your levels come down. So just be careful with that. And I'm sure a lot of you already know that. So probably preaching to the choir to a lot of you, but some of you don't know it. So just be careful with that. And, work on it, folks. Get work on all that analytical stuff, your fears and stuff. Get rid of those. Once you face those, they're lost. They're gone. You understand? And you learn from it. Now they become knowledge. Instead of a dark cloud, they become knowledge, and you can use them to help other people. And the more you do that, the more you rise in levels, because that's your job here on earth in the first place. Quit wondering why am I here? What's the purpose of life? That's the purpose of life. That's your purpose. Whether you believe it or not, that's your purpose. You're not here to do anything else. Buy a mansion and buy the fanciest car and have the most money and all this other stuff. That's totally irrelevant, to your purpose on earth, you know. And quit thinking because you give a sandwich to a hungry guy or some water to a guy dying of thirst, or help a guy and let him stay in your house because he's homeless or something like that. Don't look at that like that's credit. You're supposed to do that. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, I'd like to be able to do more of it, but you can only do so much, right? But the more you climb in your frequencies, the better you get at it, and the more blessings, if you want to call them blessings, that you receive. So, and when you do, just make sure you stay there. Don't just hog them. You understand? Don't just hog them. And they're not meant just for you. They're meant for you to use. You understand? Outwardly. So that'll help you elevate, and you get and rise and rise and rise. But you're going to have people attack you because they're jealous of it. They can see it. They can see the light in you. Your light gets brighter and brighter. And they can see it in you, and they want it. And they try to get close to you so they can drain you from it. So that's what I'm talking about: the spiritual transfer and the spiritual drainage. Okay, so just be careful. And I hope it helps some people out there, some of you out there. And I love you, man. You may not believe it, but I may not look that I don't know if I look lovable type or not, but I do. I care about you, and if you ever come up to me anywhere out there in the world, you see me and you come up to me, you'll find out who I really am. You know, don't believe all the lies and stuff. And you're going to get a lot of negative. There's a lot of negative out there. But you come up and you meet me and you'll see if you ever see me out there. I'm out there all the time. I don't hide. So, but then you'll see and it'll be a whole different deal because then you'll feel me. Then we talk for a while. You'll see the difference, and you'll want that, and that's what I want for you to want that, so that you can get that because you can. You have it too. You just have to develop it. Okay, that's it. And you just don't know. Maybe you don't know how, but you will. You will. So it's it's in your life. It's in your destiny. It is. You just have to work towards that. You know, get off that dark track. There's a lot that's taking you off of that. There's a lot that's taking you off your purpose. And quit wondering what your purpose is. Just be led by the Spirit, and you'll see. It'll come to you. It'll come to you. You'll have it. It'll just come to you. It's like an idea, and light bulb will come on. Okay. I love you folks, and send me some comments or whatever, some suggestions or questions if you like. And uh, I love you, and you have a blessed day. Stay awake from Dragon.